All right, as we advance forward, just a reminder again, in terms of the Act on Homelessness collaborative structure, we have a common agenda, also known as a strategic plan, with 4 high-level goals. And those goals, in terms of their progress, are going to be reported out annually. We are in process on our first annual report. So last year was our first full year of strategic plan implementation. And a lot of that work happens and is facilitated through our working groups. So we have 4 working groups: homelessness prevention, housing and shelter, housing retention, as well as our lived experience working group. So I'm going to touch on a couple of key components of the progress to date, as well as the work we're focused on this year in each of those working groups. So homelessness prevention has been kind of taken an interesting shift just in the first quarter of this year. So last year, it was very much focused on making sure that all residents that were in need and impacted economically and financially by COVID-19 were able to access the emergency rental and utility assistance funding. So millions and millions of dollars, and close to $14 million was distributed through the County of Santa Barbara and United Way of Santa Barbara County to help individuals pay back rent in arrears, as well as a few months of rent moving forward, again, if they had that demonstrated financial need because of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was phenomenal to see the work that was accomplished, the systems that were created, the application process, as well as how many agencies worked with clients to be able to complete that application, submit it, and get the rental assistance that they needed. So kudos to everyone who was involved in making that happen. So a lot of last year was getting updates on the distribution of that funding, the application process. At a time, it was paused and then reopened because more funding was available. And again, making sure that the online application process was accessible to everyone in multiple languages, and folks had the support to be able to provide the documentation needed to access that rental assistance. Going into this year, we really wanted to make sure that we were expanding participation in the working group to include all of the incredible organizations we have in the city of Santa Barbara and Southern Santa Barbara County in general that are working with individuals and families and youth in need. And so really understanding how we can engage on the spectrum of homelessness prevention, that it is before someone has received a notice to vacate, that they're within that 21 day, 15-day timeline before they're going to lose their home. But we're getting them much earlier, that if they have a level of vulnerability, if they have that unexpected expense that prevents them from paying rent or paying rent in a timely manner, that we're able to intervene and support at that time. So a lot of our conversations in the last couple of months have been, how can we maximize the emergency assistance that's currently available through a number of programs and organizations in the city of Santa Barbara, and then also expand the availability of some of that funding and the flexibility of that funding to be able to help more again, individuals and families in need. And then also looking at the self-sufficiency and economic empowerment program. So this is Communify, Family Service Agency, the Housing Authority of the City of Santa Barbara, that County Housing Authority, all have these incredible programs that are helping families, once they're placed in housing, be able to sustain that housing and then create a level of self-sufficiency around finances, employment, and other opportunities for support. So really understanding, again, the number and a variety of programs that are out there, what we can do and engage to be able to reach more folks, or maybe make some of those programs a little bit more consistent and available to other providers and other organizations throughout the county. So this is where we've been focused on. This is our project for the next quarter, is creating kind of this flexible resource fund to complement existing emergency assistance programs and not duplicate them, and then really elevate some of these programs around economic empowerment to be able to help more folks who could potentially be at risk of experiencing homelessness, but again, that we're able to intervene and help them reach a level of self-sufficiency. I think I see a hand up. Nancy McCready, you're on mute right now.
I have to unmute myself. I hear your desire to collaborate with new programs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And So I thought I'd break in a little bit. And a lot of us that are working with homelessness are considering the idea of having a safe sleeping areas put together like we have with the vehicles, safe parking thing, and sort of model it after the safe parking program with safe sleeping. And considering the fact that we've had 2 fires, come up again. I think it's since the hotel closed down. I think it's really important to start thinking about that. And also, we would like to see, all of us, more of a winter shelter that is open every day during the winter months rather than the warming centers as it is created right now, and not opening up until 35 degrees. It's just too cold for that. And we should consider going back to a winter shelter program rather than whatever. We're just trying to find ways of bringing people in so that they're safe.
Nancy, thank you for sharing that. You're completely spot on. And I know that a lot of conversations have been happening among the lived experience working group and beyond about really looking at what a safe sleeping program and other regions have been able to facilitate in terms of positive outcomes for individuals experiencing homelessness, how they were able to mitigate any negative impacts to where those locations were created and facilitated. And then Jeff, I know that we're going to be having a conversation to talk about lessons learned from safe sleeping programs, again, to see if it is something that we could look at here in the city of Santa Barbara.
I just want to add, we're kind of interested in what the federal government is doing, and I believe I get newsletters from the federal government all the time about what they're doing for the homeless. Does everybody have that newsletter, the US CHIC or whatever it is? And there's also the COVID relief funds that have been coming down, and I just don't know where they're going to all the states.
Yeah, and like I said, there has been a tremendous amount of resources in the last couple of years, both from the federal government and the state government, to help support individuals and families and youth experiencing homelessness. That is coordinated through our County of Santa Barbara Continuum of Care, and that leadership has representation from many service providers, many community-based organizations across the region, helping to determine and allocate where those resources are being directed. So even the availability of non-congregate sheltering, which is the hotel motel kind of emergency sheltering for individuals that were vulnerable to COVID-19 because of chronic health conditions and of a certain age, that would otherwise not be available if we didn't have federal funding being directed for that program. We've also had really successful proposals for Project Home Key, which is converting kind of the Project Room Key approach, which is hotels and motels into permanent supportive housing units. And so we've had a number of those proposals. Hedges House of Hope, again, only possible because of the funding available initially through those federal and state funding streams, and now being able to be acquired by the county because of Project Home Key. We also have the Dignity Moves project. Again, that was approved and funds were utilized only because of the available funding from federal and state streams in the last couple of years. We also have 2 proposals, one in Santa Maria and one in Goleta, that are being considered by Project Home Key as we speak, and we're hoping for good news there. So Nancy, you're spot on. I mean, again, we know the need is overwhelming, and we can't help everyone still at this point in time, but we have been able to make a lot of progress in the last year and a half and 2 years because of those resources, and that the county continuum of care has experts and experienced providers and those who've lived the experience of homelessness helping to shape and direct where those resources are being allocated. So you're right to bring this up. And I also, again, when we talk about the housing and shelter working group, the need for more emergency shelter beds, we want to focus on that. What are the opportunities and solutions, both short-term and long-term, that we can put in play to help more folks, again, get off the street and not be sleeping in really unsafe conditions and environments.
I just want one more say, and then I'm going to shut up. In the past, I've been homeless activist for 40 years, so I pretty much know what
Yeah.
has happened over the years. And I appreciate all of you people. I love the fact that there's a community out here now that really loves what they're doing. So I'm just trying to say that in the 70s, 80s, in the 80s and the 90s, early 90s, we had a winter shelter, and it was done by the Homeless Coalition of Santa Barbara. This is just history. under some private funds, and we were able to run that shelter with the volunteer efforts of the homeless themselves and a supervisor for $10,000 for the 3 months. And it just seems to me so ludicrous that it costs so much money now just to put together anything. And that just bothers me immensely. But I'm just getting older, and maybe it's a lot different nowadays, but I just wish that would happen.
No, I will say, for as many things have changed, a number of things have stayed the same. So I do want to acknowledge not only your experience, I appreciate you voicing again your experiences, all of the things that you have learned, and I won't emphasize how many years, but Nancy,
Cool.
I think that
cool.
I think the Freedom Warming Centers and Jeff, we've just been raising this conversation again. It has not been let go, right? So the County of Santa Barbara is the dominant funder. The city of Santa Barbara contributes. A lot of jurisdictions contribute to the Freedom Warming Centers. Just this last year, actually this year, I believe it started, that Good Samaritan Shelter has stepped in to be kind of the fiscal agent and fiscal umbrella, again, to provide more structure in terms of being able to access funds. I know the County of Santa Barbara, and Lucille, correct me if I'm wrong, has undergone extensive training for the volunteers and leaders of the Freedom Warming Centers to be able to operate in the homeless management information system. So the opportunity as folks enter that warming center now to be able to engage with volunteers that can then input their information to get them into the coordinated entry system, right? And then be able to access services as they're available. That has just been shifts that have happened in the last several months, in the last year. And you're right. I think the Freedom Warming Centers, in terms of how they've been created, there is this beautiful reliance on volunteers. It's only possible because of faith-based organizations that have, again, stepped up to offer their spaces, volunteers that have stepped in to make sure that they can be operated. And because of that, there has been this limitation in terms of temperature, right? And we can only operate so many in a given winter season because of volunteers and organizations offering their space. So I agree with you on that. We are continuing that conversation.
Yeah, well, when you realize how the homeless get so proud, become so proud when they are one of the volunteers, and how they feel so self-empowered again, that they have a chance to be part of something. And we're having too much. We're denying too much the ability for the homeless to help and themselves, and that's what I see. And I just want to see. And now I'm going to be quiet and let you guys go on with your meeting.
Nancy, thank you so much. And again, I hope as part of your legacy that we'll see a little bit more activation of the Freedom Warming Centers moving forward, and that we're able to increase that temperature threshold. There's a lot of business owners and residents, and again, that have reinitiated that conversation once again to see what's possible and not possible there. It does take funding, but is there a possibility for public-private partnership to support that? And we can make that happen. So I really hope that we can do that for you and all of your incredible work over the last few decades.
Thank you very much, and go on.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay. So good news, back to good news. Utilization of the emergency housing vouchers, both by the City of Santa Barbara and County of Santa Barbara housing authorities. And Rob, I saw you on the call. I feel like we should shout this from the rooftops and thank and share gratitude to all of the provider partners, case managers, the housing authority, I mean, every organization that stepped up in a very short period of time to make sure that clients could access these vouchers and be able to utilize them, and then the work to actually get them leased up. I mean, I wish I could capture it more beautifully in words, and I just can't. So I'm gonna turn it to you, Rob, to just share the good news about the utilization of these vouchers.
Sure, yeah. If I could share my screen, that would be great because
Absolutely, Landon. Can you do that?
I'd like to share the HUD dashboard that tracks nationally the utilization of the
Sure,
EHV
Rob.
uh, vouchers. So let me share my desktop here. Okay. All right. So you can see the emergency housing voucher screen here, right? It's a little small, but let me make it full screen. Come on. Come on. Here we Oh, dang it. Hold on. Sorry.
No, this is worth it. This is this is worth us seeing it.
So come on.
It's just, yeah, the data is taking a little bit to reload.
Yeah. Let me zoom in. I'll just zoom in. Anyhow, um, there are 70,000 vouchers nationwide, right? And only 19% of those vouchers have been leased up, are utilized. That's pretty sad, right? That's
Yeah.
a sad statement of of having these vouchers available and only 19%, 13,000 of the nearly 70,000 vouchers leased up. That's not good nationwide.
Yeah.
But sorry, I can't go full screen. Don't know why. But if you look here, Housing Authority of the City of Santa Barbara, we were issued 89 vouchers. Well, we have leased up 95. We overshot the mark. Our agency, we do that a lot. We try to overachieve. So we're not technically allowed to overlease, but we did. So sue me.
Yeah.
So so we're at 106% leased up, and don't want to take anything away from the county housing authority because they are
Yeah.
also um, very close, maybe also 100% leased up now. This lags a couple of days on reporting. So out of their 126 vouchers, they have 121 leased, shown on the dashboard.
Amazing.
So
Absolutely amazing.
there are so many agencies across the nation that are just not doing their job. And Lucille was on a call yesterday nationally with other COCs, and they're hearing that she heard that other housing authorities are just saying, well, homelessness is just not our job. We're just not going
Wow.
to try and get these leased up. And
Wow.
for me, that's just horrible. If you're going to be called a housing authority, you should be an authority on everything in that spectrum, from people who are not housed to getting them a place to lay their head at night, either temporarily or permanently. And so I was shocked to hear that from Lucille. Part of me was shocked, part of me not. But our two housing authorities, my housing authority, the cities and the county. I know John Polanski's on the line here, was earlier, and we both lean into this issue
Yeah.
because we care. We care about the residents in our community and those that don't have a safe place to be at night. And so we leaned into it, and we could not have achieved this incredible lease up if it weren't for our partners in the community. We can't do it on our own.
Right.
It took the referral process, getting the referrals from CityNet and other folks, New Beginnings,
Mhm.
getting people connected. Our coordinated entry system showed that it can work
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
this, and quickly getting uh, getting individuals eligible, deemed eligible for housing, and getting them leased up. And the supportive services are key, ongoing as well. And, having Good Sam being there to provide those supportive services and having that ongoing is key. Now, we've been doing the EHV vouchers now since July of last year.
Right.
That's when we were able to start leasing up, and we have only had one household um, uh, uh, end their participation on the voucher program.
Okay. Wow.
And I count that as a success in this time
Absolutely.
frame, because we're housing a lot of individuals that they come with a variety of different issues that they need help with. So only having one individual move out in this time frame
Right.
is really, really good. And again, that goes to show for this support network that we've built, and we couldn't have done it without that. It's also money with the landlords, the landlord community, with the incentives, the signing incentive, the bonus incentives, the damage guarantee, and knowing that the supportive services would be there. That really mattered to the landlord community in order to achieve this lease up. So, this is it's really, really good to see, because these are people's lives we're talking about.
Right. Absolutely.
They're not. It's not just a number. It's not just 89 vouchers. There are 89 individuals that we've been able to help. And well, more than that, the County Housing Authority, 126 that they've been able to help. So I'll leave it at that. And John, do you have anything to add?
Let me unmute. You actually, said it all. It's unfortunate that some of our colleagues around the country hadn't already connected with their continuums, and don't see a need to now, and it is really unfortunate about that. But on the positive side, as you said, the two housing authorities in Santa Barbara County, we are not oversubscribed. You're such a show off, Rob. But no, we may actually be fully leased. I know we had those last few people out shopping and finding a place. But no, as you can tell, Rob and I and the two housing authorities work really well together. But it is the partnerships.
Yeah.
And Rob is absolutely correct in that. The housing authorities alone would not have this type of success with this program. So it really is the partners, many of whom are on the Zoom. So we really appreciate the partners. We really appreciate the landlords who stepped up and are housing the folks. So it really is a team effort. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much. And we had a couple of questions. Is there any chance of the feds reissuing some of those vouchers so that they can be utilized by other communities?
That topic has come up.
Okay.
I sit on a national strategic planning committee with our trade association, and the topic has come up because the nationwide figures, as Rob mentioned, are atrocious. After this amount of time, to be right around 20% or a little bit under 20% nationwide. And historically, HUD has done that.
Yeah.
Where they have taken vouchers allocated that aren't being used by other housing authorities and reallocated them. And there is talk about doing that. Rob may have heard something more specific on that.
Nothing more specific, just know there's talk at the national level of, like John said, of reallocating vouchers. If they're not going to be used in one community, let's get them used where other communities have committed to getting them leased up. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much. And Lucille, I saw your hand up earlier. Was that to share kind of what Rob referred to in your last meeting?
Yes, and I also just wanted to give kudos to the housing authorities for stepping up as soon as, I think even when we knew the announcement was coming. So huge thank you to the housing authorities for really doing whatever it takes in terms of housing navigation, working with us on supportive services to make sure that people are getting into housing and retaining their housing, and also the landlord incentives. I think we're a huge part of it. So just thank you to our housing authorities. We're so lucky to have such great partners.
Yeah, and everyone stepped in. And so Christine Schwartz or Emily Koval from CityNet, anything to share from your end, because it was the incredible work from your case managers, helping folks again through that system, accessing the applications, accessing the vouchers, finding the housing placements. But anything to share, Christine, from your experience in making this all happen?
Sure. I just am so appreciative of our relationship with the housing authorities. We work really well together, and I really see that they work to make sure that people stay housed, even in difficult situations where we might have to change a unit or a property. They really step up, and they really work together. Their entire team works together with us to make sure that happens. And I really appreciate that. It's we can tell from the statistics, right? I think it's probably a unique and very special relationship that we all have with our housing authorities. And
I again cannot express enough gratitude on behalf of the collaborative and your leadership and the experienced leadership, Rob and John, that you and your teams have. I mean, we would not be in the position we are today if not for that. Emily, things to share from the CityNet perspective, because you were in the hustle, and there was a great article about your housing navigator, again, just lifting up really the positive outcomes that you've been able to facilitate over the last 6 to 7 months.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to thank the Housing Authority. We do have such a close relationship when it comes to getting people housed, keeping people housed, and then also helping managing several of their supportive housing properties. We're so excited for more opportunities like this to house more individuals who are experiencing homelessness. This is our passion project, and we're glad that we're able to be in collaboration with you all. I actually pulled some numbers from the city of Santa Barbara alone, and we've been averaging between 3 and 7 clients getting housed in the city of Santa Barbara every month. But the months once the clients were given those emergency housing vouchers, those numbers jumped to 12 in December and 10 in January, which is a huge number of people to house in 1 month in one city. And so, we wouldn't have been able to do that without the help of the housing authority. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing the outcomes that you've been able to facilitate, and we'll share a little bit later the exits, both temporary and permanent, that CityNet has been able to facilitate over the last year as we focused on our regional action plan. So Emily, thank you to your team. And again, I know there's so many others on this call that were part of the tremendous undertaking of being able to access and utilize these vouchers. So thank you all so much. And I want to acknowledge kind of Deborah's comments in the chat. One is, any moment of laughter is sarcasm between agencies and not at all pointed to the trauma experience with people living on the street. So when we say competition to access resources and get those resources in, it was a moment of laughter among fake competition between the two housing authorities. So that's one. Two is that we do, again, support, engage, and really just respect each other and all of the perspectives that we have. And so noting, again, the lack of accessibility to some of these applications and programs because of language barriers, cultural barriers, and the like, we absolutely know that. We hear that regularly. We know that those experiences exist. They still exist. We have not done enough to increase accessibility and access to those applications. And we need to continue to prioritize that. So there's a lot of agencies building capacity to make sure that we can help people through those processes that need that assistance so that accessibility is there. But you're correct that still a lot of work needs to be done in that regard. Some information too, just working through the county continuum of care on addressing those disparities in their proposals as they seek providers that can provide access to these programs. Again, it's all being prioritized, but I will say it's insufficient to meet the need that we have right now. Any other comments, questions? And Jean, I appreciate your joke about the vacant land behind Lucille on her on her screen. Where is that?
Well, this is Montaña de Oro State
Okay.
Park in SLO County. Sorry.
And
Out of our
probably, hopefully, some of it's been conserved. I'm hoping.
It is a state park. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So thanks for that, Jean.
Barbara, can I weigh in about the disparities too?
Yes, of course.
So we're over the past couple of releases of state and federal funding, we have been working on different ways to address disparities. So specifically diversity, equity, inclusion, access, and justice. So we've started by asking applicants to note where they are in terms of addressing different disparities. And we're meeting with the state next week because in this last round of HAP funding, they provided allocations for system improvements specifically. And we set aside part of that to address racial disparities and other inequities in our system and in our processes too. So when we meet with the state next week, we're going to ask how we need to be measuring that because we'll have to report back to the state. But we did bring that to the Continuum of Care Planning Committee a couple of weeks ago and just talked through. We'll be putting out a request for proposals, which we do when we don't know what we don't know yet. So we're going to be putting that out in the coming couple of months, probably once we get more guidance from the state. But really, we're leaning toward, we need an audit of our system. So making sure that everything is accessible and that we're doing everything to meet people where they are and help them to permanent housing that they're able to retain alongside services that they need as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lucille, for adding the detail there too. And Yoli, I don't want to overlook your story and sharing that there was able to be a successful connection with SB Act and the neighborhood navigation centers. Thank you so much for sharing that. Just really appreciate again that we were able to achieve what we hope to be a long-term positive outcome. All right, just a couple more things in light of time, I just want to touch on in terms of the working group. So the Housing and Shelter Working Group, again, shifting the focus of working groups this year to be really project specific, making sure that we're able to help the day-to-day of our service provider partners, as well as remove some of the barriers experienced by individuals and families experiencing homelessness through our system to again, ease their access as well as ability to gain support. So we are working on a provider response directory. We are prioritizing mental health crisis response and overall mental health support first, but that provider response directory will be more expansive. And this is really specific information about how we can facilitate warm handoffs, better referrals, understanding the capacity of agencies at any one time. So we're not sending folks down a path that has a long waiting list or again, takes time for folks to be able to get the support that they need. So that is in process with that working group. And again, more good news is I know we've been talking a bit in our regional action plans and working groups about the Dignity Moves project, which is the modular units that will be located downtown. This is a bridge housing program and not a permanent supportive housing program. So I want to clarify that this is to get folks stabilized, document ready, and get them access to permanent housing units. Again, being able to engage with them regularly, like we've seen with some of the non-congregate sheltering projects over the last year. I always want to refer to this slide because this is the focus of our working groups by the numbers, which is this is the need that we have across the city in terms of emergency shelter beds, permanent supportive housing units, and other transitional housing units. A couple of things. These are based on 2020 point in time count data. This could shift with the data that we're expected to receive again from this year's point in time. So we have done, and as you have heard, housing a lot of individuals in permanent supportive housing units using kind of a scattered site supportive service model. Emergency shelter beds continue to be our greatest significant need in terms of understanding where we're able to build that capacity, create that capacity in the city of Santa Barbara and overall countywide. So again, reminder of this is the focus by the numbers of the collaborative and the housing and shelter working group. Lastly is that the housing retention working group. I wanted to touch on briefly. This again has shifted over the last quarter to really be in response to what we heard from our service provider partners of, hey, can we create a space, just kind of like the dialogue that we're having here this morning, where we're able to learn from each other, share experiences, what are the challenges that we've had, and making sure that individuals and families are placed and successfully retaining their housing environment, and some of the best practices, how we've overcome them. There's strategies that we can share with each other, learn from each other, as well as other regions. And so as we kind of, again, look at this working group over the next quarter, it will be very much focused on facilitating this type of learning dialogue with each other, overcoming challenges with supporting clients that have been recently placed into permanent housing units, as well as providing trainings to service provider partners, and that field on the ground staff that works every single day to make sure, again, these opportunities are successfully embraced, resonate, and that folks are able to successfully retain their housing over time. So that is the work of the Housing Retention Working Group. So quickly, I want to, Jeff, point to you in terms of our regional action plans, but I'll stop here. Any questions on the goals and objectives of our working groups? And we'll touch a little bit on lived experience, Jeff, as I turn it to you as well.
No, any questions, comments?
There was a question just about PATH's capacity. And Jeff, I know that you've been facilitating this conversation with the East Side Rep, as well as engaging city staff, as well as Mayor Rouse, that are looking at that emergency shelter bed number and saying, what are the ways that we can increase the availability of emergency shelter beds citywide?
And I also see Catherine from PATH is on the call. Catherine, I don't know if you want to respond directly to the question that Jean put in the chat, rather than myself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine. I'm the Associate Director of Housing Programs here at PATH, for those that don't know me. You know, I do think that PATH has explored this option in the past. And I think with building or expanding on our current facility, we saw some barriers with kind of what rebuilding kind of looks like. You know, as some of us know, permitting here in Santa Barbara can be very challenging when it comes to construction projects. So I know that was something that kind of we hit a wall there. But then too, I think realistically, as we're seeing with all these non-congregate shelters that have opened in the last year, kind of what we're seeing when we're looking at supporting clients, that the congregate setting is really not the best situation for folks, at least with individuals that we're seeing with like severe persistent mental health issues. So I think that's just something that we also want to keep in mind when we're talking about capacity expanding for different projects, like what that looks like. We already operate a 100-bed shelter. So trying to bring more folks in here, even if we expand, you know, what that does to the quality of not just the service, but really kind of trauma informed when we're trying to support individuals.
No, Catherine, I appreciate you again sharing that. There's a lot of detail that goes into contemplating if we're able to increase capacity within an existing shelter, or if we need to kind of create those new sheltering environments based on what we've learned, especially the last couple of years with more availability of the non-congregate sheltering environment. And you're right, Jean. I think, and even just keeping the conversation open for a variety of solutions and approaches, again, learning even about safe sleeping, even though that is condoning folks being outdoors, looking at the type of shelter settings that are the most supportive for that trauma-informed care and approach, as well as, again, bridge housing programs and others. So we definitely advocate as a collaborative that we need all of these strategies and solutions implemented simultaneously, and it's not any one approach that's going to be able to address and, again, support the unique needs of individuals experiencing homelessness. Jeff, do you want to touch on just, again, a lot of that strategy conversation in terms of neighborhood by neighborhood, being able to address the unique needs and impacts that we're experiencing?
Yeah, let me start by, first of all, I just want to let everyone know that we'll be following up with Deborah. I know CityNet's following up with Deborah. So Deborah, we definitely want to assist you, and I thank you for joining the call and for, letting us know what your experience is. This leans a little bit into our lived experience working group, which Barbara mentioned. I want to highlight a couple, maybe 3 things, and then just talk briefly about where we are with RAPS, kind of connect some dots, because I think this is kind of we know there's still too many individuals and families out there, too many people on the streets, too many people living in vehicles. So that's a given. And I know everyone on this call cares about that. And we are working hard to alleviate the suffering that we see every day. Our lived experience working group is probably, the more that we're involved in that, the more value I see in it, the more possibilities and thankfulness I have for those who are part of lived experience. Wayne, you're on the call. So I don't know if you want to share something at some point, go ahead and raise your hand. But I want to tie 3 things kind of together and show kind of how connected. See, the point of SB Act really is this idea of connectedness, whether through our NNCs or working groups or RAPs or this all calls. How do we bring everyone together and get everything aligned and working well together? And we have 2 individuals that are in our lived experience group, Brandon and Jennifer, who we met first when they were on the streets through our NNC. And then they got connected to CityNet and they got housed. And very appreciative for the CityNet team and for both of them, for the steps they're taking, because now they're working on their employment, they're working on ways to give back. And I want to thank the housing authorities, both John, and I don't know if Rob is still on here, but they worked with Joey and Filament Media to create this wonderful documentary called Sonder, which premiered at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival this week. And I got to sit next to Brandon and Jennifer and Rich and Kayla at the showing of this documentary, and talk about empowerment. To have them be able to go to this film, which was so wonderfully done. I cried again. I think we all cried again every time I see it. It's just so moving. And to see that their lives were captured, and that it makes them even want to give back more to the community through the lived experience working group. Rob and John, I don't know if you want to say anything about the film real quick, but it's just such a powerful opportunity for us to utilize that documentary too, to tell the stories of all of those people who are currently out there moving toward housing, capture how their lives change when they are housed. And some of the providers on this call are captured in that documentary too, and how you guys might be trying to utilize that in community.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, Rob, go ahead.
No, you.
Start. Okay. See this friendly competition. Yeah, Jeff, I really appreciate it. And again, the theme of today is also, the team effort that it takes to try to help house people experiencing homelessness and get the story out to the general public. So, Jeff, really appreciate your co-starring role in the film, along with all the folks that you mentioned, and also the team, the partners. Who make it all possible to help to house individuals experiencing homelessness, who participated in the film, took the time. Our plans, and we will be having a call in the next few days, thinking about various fundraising events that we can use showing the film. We could not show the film ahead of its world premiere at the film festival. We told the film festival it was the world premiere. Nobody else had seen it other than those of us that had actually had worked on it. But now that it's had its world premiere, we can open it up to a wider audience. So we really hope it's community engagement. It is a way for stories to get out that otherwise may not. But it's also showing that there is there are positive results that can happen, if you just take a little bit of time and get to know folks. Rob, I'll send it over to you.
Not much to add to that other than, yes, there will be opportunities to view the film, but first we want to arrange that wider community engagement showing around it, and a fundraising opportunity for for services or whatever we need to help raise funds. And I think that would be, it'd be twofold event to get people to see the film and the message that it brings, but also to help fundraise around it for services and whatnot. So I think it'll be a really good opportunity. So. And what John said, Jeff, I've thanked you before, but you made me cry in the film. You really did. With your words from your heart and your soul.
Well, thanks, Rob. We've been partnering in so many ways for a lot of years, and I just appreciate your heart as well, and the heart of both housing authorities. I thank you for your leadership, as you both expressed at the start of this call, of taking the lead on getting people off the streets as housing authorities. And I have seen that countywide. I've had the joy of seeing it in Lompoc, Santa Maria, Santa Barbara. So really appreciate both of you and your agencies. And then how this ties to, I'll hand it over briefly, the RAPs, where, you've heard from me enough. I feel like on the regional action plan calls, I can highlight a couple of things. I think what I've seen most effectively through the regional action plan calls is look at the point in time count. We recruited through our regional action plan calls people to join us for the point in time count. So we had business owners, residents, and hotel owners going out with us to do the point in time count, which brings us all together, both on the experience together and the experience of talking to people experiencing homelessness. So the understanding of what's really actually going on out there. Who are we looking at? Who are we caring about? These are people. As Rob and John mentioned, these are not numbers. These are people that we're trying to assist. And then coming out of that ultimately will be the data. We will have new data to look at for tackling this issue, and to see the whole community come out and be a part of that whole process means that we are moving forward. That's success in itself. We have a lot to do for our resources, to increase our resources. It'd be wonderful to have another 300 of these, to be able to get people housed, vouchers. But in the meantime, we have a lot of work to do just directly together as teams. So I really appreciate the RAPs for, even though sometimes we're not on the same page, we consistently pull together. We have this new challenge we're doing, and Catherine, if you want to put anything in the chat on this, we're doing a regional action plan challenge for welcome home kits for PATH. So I'm trying to arrange so that a friendly competition between upper state and east side and waterfront to say who can come up with the most welcome home kits. And I scored one today, Catherine, for the east side. So we have one for the east side. So I'm just throwing that out there to all the other RAP partners as well. Barbara, if I can share my screen real quick, I just want to put a picture up, and then I'm going to hand it over to Kayla. Yeah. And I want to give a quick shout out to Kayla, because she has taken our NNCs to kind of a whole new level, and I really appreciate it. How she's been able to bring other partners to the table, get all this documentation done that needs to be done, and increase our neighborhood navigation center. So now we're looking at the east side, and this is Kayla kind of with our first kind of site visit with the rescue mission staff and all of our NNC partners, and just really excited about what's going to happen as we expand to the east side. So Kayla, shout out to you for all your hard work for the NNCs. And I'm going to hand it over to you now. Or Barbara, I don't know if I'm supposed to or if I'm going to get in trouble, but I think
yeah, I have a quick slide to help Kayla share more good news.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jeff and Barbara, and all of you on this call. And apologies for any of the background noise that I've got. I had an in-person meeting that bled over into this call, actually with a potential new partner for NNC. So it kind of fits with this whole conversation of what can we do? What can we imagine? What can we expand together? Which kind of builds on to this slide right here. We are really excited to share that we'll be launching our third Neighborhood Navigation Center on the east side in partnership with the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission. They so graciously offered to allow us to use their courtyard space and their kind of chapel space as the site for our NNC. So we'll be officially launching that on March 30th. That'll be a Wednesday. Just a quick correction to this, from 8 to 10 in the morning. And it'll be offering a breakfast opportunity. We'll be working with long-term and newer partners, Doctors Without Walls, working with the library mobile services to provide adult education, internet access, technological support, job readiness programming. Behavioral wellness will be with us, as well as CityNet case management. So kind of these wraparound services, and then always looking to build on more, to add on more, which is what we've been doing at the Carrillo Castillo commuter lot. The energy is it's so fun. It's so enlivening to be at these spaces, to be at these NNCs, working side by side with partners, as well as just getting to see these warm handoffs happen between partners. There have been multiple times where I've seen behavioral wellness and CityNet engaging with a client to figure out what the best path forward is for someone, as well as just folks getting to spend time together. Westmont students engaged as well, just in that kind of relational space, really creating a dignified and humanizing environment. But just real quick, this coming Wednesday, a week from today, we'll be hosting a neighborhood forum in partnership with Councilmember Alejandro Gutierrez. It'll be virtual, and it's just our opportunity to share with the East Side neighborhood housed residents and business owners coming to their neighborhood and what that will mean for unhoused folks, with those engaging shelter at PATH and at the rescue mission, as well as folks who haven't been connected to shelter services recently. What that will mean for helping folks get connected to both those immediate needs, those immediate services such as a meal or a shower, but also what are those long-term interests that they have to be connected to case management, and with the eventual hope of housing, or perhaps a reconnection with a relative or close friend somewhere else. So that all kind of brings us up to this really exciting news that we'll have 3 neighborhood navigation centers. Alameda Park, which operates on Thursday nights, new partners, old partners, all together, continuing to meet folks' needs like we have been at Alameda, continuing the work at the Carrillo Castillo commuter lot, and then bringing on this third opportunity. So that we'll have an NNC on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, and on a Thursday for folks to be able to connect with services and get what they need, kind of in this neighborhood by neighborhood approach. Which is what has been so instrumental with our wraps, is being able to engage each neighborhood, because each is a little bit different. Each serves a different population. And so all exciting news, new challenges, but the opportunities are also new and exciting and expansive.
So Kayla, I just noted that correction. It is Wednesday, March 30th, not the 31st. And I want to just kind of, again, add a note of gratitude, not only to the SBAC team for really kind of stretching ourselves and our capacity to be able to really roll out this new approach to meeting folks where they're at. But again, none of this would be possible without partners who say, yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there on Tuesday. We'll be there on Wednesday. We'll be there on Thursday. It creates the opportunity to serve more people at one time, which is great, and have this really beautiful referral process that you can literally walk over to another organization if there's a need and facilitate that introduction and connect someone. But there's also, again, this opportunity we're seeing with case managers that that is a meeting place, wanting to connect and be out, again, engaging folks in all sorts of locations, but that continual touch base, right? Especially getting through the documentation readiness process, coordinated entry system, and again, eventually access to housing, that can be a touch base location because it's consistent. And we know, and I've heard time and time again, that level of consistency, that commitment builds trust with folks who have experienced horrible trauma living on the street. We want to be able to make that commitment. Where we are at any given time on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and we want to be able to connect with folks that are open. So huge undertaking to advance to those 3 sites over the last 6 to 8 months. We're excited about this work moving forward. And again, that all 3 locations are very different from each other. So we're able to assess what is the best approach. How are we able to meet the needs of the most number of individuals in each of those neighborhoods? And again, learning from the community about the impacts to those regions as we're facilitating these neighborhood navigation centers. Again, creating that open pathways of communication through our regional action plans has been really hugely significant. I also want to mention the investment from funders, foundations, again, to be able to make this successful. The Orfalea Foundation, that initial commitment, public-private matching commitment, I should say, Coriats, the Campanellas, to match the $100,000 commitment from the city of Santa Barbara to make these 3 sites happen over the last year and moving forward. So thank you again to everyone who's made this happen and has allowed this to come to fruition, and we're able to see those positive outcomes already. Raj, I see your hand up. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And first and foremost, I want to thank everyone that has showed up for this meeting. And my gratitude goes out to everyone for all of your massive efforts of helping the unhoused. And I have great gratitude for all of you. So I really want to thank all of you for all of your efforts, because every little thing that you do to help can make a huge difference in someone's life. And I'm very grateful to be a co-chair of the Lived Experience. We're working on, actually, we have an idea of having the Lived Experience reach out, go out on foot and talk with the homeless in person, because I feel that if the people like myself go out and talk and speak with the homeless, that it can have a real impact on them, because since we have walked down this road and this path, we have a total understanding of what it's like to be out there. So hopefully this can really have a positive impression on our unhoused. And so I'm really looking forward to trying to actually put into being safe sleeping, because this is of utmost importance for the unhoused, because we don't have enough housing yet for the homeless. So this is definitely something that could really help. And if we were to implement safe sleeping, I think it would really help of people even acting out and causing more problems with our businesses, our hotels. So I definitely pray and hope that we can get safe sleeping to give people a safe place to sleep. And I think this would also really help with implementing help for the homeless through our NNC sites, which I'm also eternally grateful for. I believe that the NNCs, in my opinion, and from what I can see, is one of the best things that has ever happened in the county of Santa Barbara for reaching out to our unhoused people. And also, I want to say that I'm very grateful for having a place to live It's been an incredible journey for me. And I have a really beautiful place, and I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for Robert and everyone in the city housing authority. And I would also like to put a shout out to CityNet. I have met some awesome individuals in CityNet, and I really enjoy talking with CityNet workers and getting input from them and needs that need to take place. And I would also like to put a shout out to Jeff and the Barbara and Kayla for all the hard work that you've done. So I'm very grateful to have my life the way it is today. And I'm thankful that CityNet was involved. And I cannot leave out Westmont, the Westmont students. I want to put out an immense amount of gratitude towards the Westmont students. That has been a real blessing having them at our NNC meetings. So I'm just, things are moving along. There's always a lot more we can do,
Right.
but I'm very grateful as far as we have come. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Raj, I don't want to say anything more after that. Honestly, that was the perfect sharing of gratitude that we need to uplift our partners. We know the tireless work that you have all committed every single day to help individuals in need, that we have success stories and voices and advocates that have emerged from those success stories like Raj, helping others make that transition, be able to engage, to be able to trust again, has been one of the great experiences of my lifetime, and I will say in my career and work with SB Act in the last couple of years. So thank you, Raj, for sharing that so beautifully. And Nancy McGrady is right behind you on safe sleeping. So Jeff, you added in the chat, our next meeting and conversation is a learning conversation to really learn more about this effort that's been facilitated nationwide, about, again, how we can work to look at, is this going to be an alternative that we can offer in the city? But we do not want to let up on the need for safer environments, sheltering, beds, as well as permanent supportive housing units, all happening simultaneously. And again, making those initial steps to make sure that as many people as possible are feeling safe and comfort when they put their head down at night. So Raj, thank you for advocating for that as well. We will continue those conversations and learn from you and from others about the possibility of that approach here in the city of Santa Barbara. Any other questions, comments, concerns? So with all that's happening in the world, that gives us a bit of huge perspective. I really appreciate this meeting, this touch base, this moment to appreciate and support and lift each other up. There has been, like I said, so much progress just in the last year and a half, let alone the last 5 to 10 years. And there is so much on the horizon. New housing developments, permanent housing supportive services, continuing on for several years attached to those emergency housing vouchers. And again, new opportunities like Bridge Housing Program with Dignity Moves and others that are being put together every single day to make, again, hopefully our ability to help everyone in need increase exponentially over time. So we know that there's a lot of need out there, and absolutely want to share our gratitude and appreciation for folks who are stepping up to lift their voices up and share their experiences and stories about barriers in the system, challenges that they've experienced, because again, this is what we're focused on every single day. So thank you so much for your time. this quarter, the first meeting this year of our all call partners, as we say. And we look forward to touching base with you next quarter with our official results from the first year of our strategic plan implementation. Just to note that we are scheduled to present to the City Council on April 12th. That will be a very comprehensive presentation, both of the city's efforts, the collaborative efforts, and we're hoping some new data available to us, again, to help refocus and refine strategies moving forward. So thank you all so much for your time. I hope you have a good rest of the week. And again, thank you for being part of the collaboration. Thank you for being part of this work. We would not be able to do any of this without you. Thank you all so much. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Everyone.